I was standing in a hotel ballroom in Manhattan, holding a copy of Forbes magazine with my face on it, when my phone buzzed. It was my mother. "Please stop embarrassing us with this little blog thing. People are asking questions." The magazine in my hand said 30 under 30. The text on my screen said I was an embarrassment. 2 hours later, my father sent an email. Subject line, family business discussion. He wanted half. Said he and Mom deserved equity because they gave me the foundation. How do you prove you built something from nothing when your own family wants to burn the blueprints? I had 3 years of texts, tax returns, trademark filings, and one email that would end this. But let me take you back, because they didn't always pretend to care. Drop a like if you've ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to believe in you first. And comment where you're watching from. I want to know who's here. Let me show you what I built. And what it cost? I was 22 when I started the studio. Not a garage startup, a bedroom startup, one laptop, a used camera, and a portfolio I'd built doing free work for nonprofits. My parents wanted me in law school. My older sibling, Rachel, had just landed a consulting job. Every family dinner became a highlight reel of her client decks and business trips. When I told them I was filing an LLC for a design and content studio, my dad laughed. "When are you getting a real job?" My mom was gentler. "This Instagram thing is cute, honey. But you can't pay rent with likes." Rachel didn't say anything. She just smiled. I learned early to stay quiet and to save everything. Every group chat, every voicemail, every text where they compared me to Rachel's real career. I didn't know why I was doing it. It just felt like one day I'd need proof I existed. By year 2, I was pulling in 5 figures a month. Signed my first retainer client, a startup that's now worth $40 million. I mentioned it at Thanksgiving. My dad asked if I'd thought about getting my MBA. Year 3, I hired a contractor. Then another. Built a portfolio that agencies were citing in pitch decks. My mom still introduced me as figuring things out. Then a client nominated me for the Forbes 30 under 30 list. And in October, I got the call. I didn't tell my family right away. I wanted one clean moment that was just mine. The magazine dropped on a Tuesday. By Wednesday, everything changed. The day the list went live, my mother called. Her voice was different, warm, almost proud. "We saw the magazine. We always knew you had it in you." I didn't say anything. "Your father and I want to talk about formalizing our investment." "What investment?" "Sweetheart, we gave you a roof. We bought you that computer for college. We gave you the foundation. It's time to make that official." She said it like it was reasonable, like I owed them equity for being born. 2 days later, my father sent the email. "After discussing with our attorney, we believe a 40% non-dilutable stake accurately reflects our foundational investment. We'll need board seats. Let's get the paperwork started by end of week." 40%. For a laptop I'd replaced in year 1. Then Rachel posted on LinkedIn, "So proud to have advised my sibling in the early days of their entrepreneurial journey. Success is a team effort." She tagged my company page. 3 clients sent me screenshots asking if I had a co-founder I hadn't disclosed. The family group chat turned into a negotiation thread. My aunt chimed in. My uncle asked why I was being difficult about family. My father gave me 72 hours to make it right. I didn't sleep that night, but I did open the folder on my desktop, the one labeled family. I'd been collecting receipts for 3 years. I just didn't know I'd need them like this. They didn't wait for my answer. My father called my 2 largest clients, introduced himself as a co-founder, said there were some partnership terms we're clarifying. One client, my biggest retainer, $40,000 a quarter, paused the contract. "We need to understand the ownership structure before we proceed." I'm sure you understand. I understood that my father had just torched a 6-figure relationship. Then my mom went to work on the family. At my cousin's wedding that weekend, I walked into whispers, side eyes. My aunt pulled me aside. "I heard you're cutting your parents out after everything they sacrificed." "That's not how we raised you." I hadn't cut anyone out. I'd just refused to hand over a business I built alone. But the story was already written. My lawyer told me not to engage publicly. "If you fight this loud, they'll play the victim card. We need airtight documentation first." I sat at my desk that night staring at the Forbes page. My face, my name, my work. And I thought about walking away, rebranding, starting over somewhere they couldn't reach. Then I remembered what my dad said when I filed the LLC. "When are you getting a real job?" I pulled up the business folder. Every document I'd ever signed. I was the only name on them. But would that be enough? I started with the LLC registration. Filed 3 years ago. Sole member. One name, mine. No co-signers. No parental guarantees. Just me and an $80 filing fee I paid with a checking account they weren't on. Then I pulled the bank records. Every deposit from day one. My $8,000 in savings from freelance gigs. That's what seeded the business. I searched for my parents' names in 3 years of statements. 0 results. Next, the lease. The first office I rented when I outgrew my bedroom. Signed at 23. 1 signature line, 1 name. I sent everything to my lawyer. She called me an hour later. This is clean. You're the only founder. They don't have a legal claim. We can send a cease and desist today. We did. Formal letter to my father and Rachel. Demand to stop misrepresenting ownership. Immediate retraction of all public statements. My father replied in under an hour. You're choosing money over family. I hope you can live with that. I could, because this was never about money. It was about control. And I had the documents to prove I'd never given it to them. But they didn't stop. Because the truth didn't matter. The story did. And they were just getting started. Rachel published a Medium post 3 days later. Title, When Success Divides Families. She didn't name me, but she tagged 3 industry hashtags and wrote about siblings who forget where they came from. The comments filled with people from our network, some supportive, some asking questions. Then my mother organized an intervention. She booked a private room at a restaurant, invited my aunts, my uncle, and my grandmother. I walked in thinking it was a family dinner. It was an ambush. My mother spoke first. We're worried about you. This fame, it's changed you. You're not the person we raised. My father jumped in. We're not asking for charity. We're asking for what's fair. You used our resources. You lived under our roof. You owe us. My grandmother looked at me with disappointment. Family takes care of family. I sat there silent, let them perform, took mental notes. When I left, my father handed me an envelope. Inside was a letter from their attorney. Notice of intent to sue for partnership dispute and unjust enrichment. 2 more clients called that week asking for clarity calls. And I had 10 days until the Forbes Under 30 Summit in Brooklyn. I was scheduled to speak on a panel. If this wasn't resolved, my story wouldn't be about the business I built. It would be about the family that tore me apart. I had a choice. Let them rewrite history, or end it. I went back to the folder. This time I pulled the family group chat. 3 years of messages. I exported the entire thread. 47 messages where they dismissed my work. Told me to get serious. Compared me to Rachel's corporate job. 0 messages of support, not one. Then I found the text from 6 months before the Forbes list. My mother, in the family chat, please stop telling people you run a company. It's embarrassing. I screenshot it, dated and time-stamped. Next, I pulled my tax returns. 3 years of self-employment income. Every dollar reported, every deduction logged. I ran a search for gifts received or parental loans. 0. Nothing reported because nothing was given. My lawyer compiled it all into a legal exhibit binder, notarized and indexed. If they sue, they'll lose, and they'll pay your legal fees under fee-shifting statutes. But I still didn't understand why they wanted this so badly. It wasn't just the money. They'd never cared about my success before. So I did something I'm not proud of. I checked my father's LinkedIn, and that's when it clicked. His job title had changed 8 months ago, from senior director to independent consultant. He'd been laid off, and he hadn't told anyone. Suddenly, the 40% demand made sense. My father had been out of work for 8 months. His LinkedIn was vague. A few consulting gigs, sparse endorsements, nothing steady. I checked Rachel next. Her firm was downsizing. She'd posted about exciting transitions, startup code for we're cutting staff. Then I looked at my mother's Facebook. She'd created a photo album the day after the Forbes list dropped. Title, Our Entrepreneurial Legacy. Pictures of me as a kid. Her captions talked about our family of builders and raising risk takers. She was performing for her book club, her church group, rewriting the whole story. They didn't want me. They wanted the win, the narrative. The Forbes endorsed proof that they'd done something right. And maybe the cash flow. My father's mortgage was underwater. I'd seen the Zillow estimate during a family argument about their refinance. Rachel's consulting income wouldn't cover her lifestyle. Not the one she posted on Instagram. The 30 under 30 list wasn't just validation for me. It was a lifeline for them, a way to save face, a way to solve problems, a way to claim success they didn't build. I could have felt sorry for them. But pity doesn't erase years of dismissal or forgery of my work or the clients they poisoned. So I stopped wondering if I should fight back. And I made a plan. The Forbes Under 30 Summit was in 3 days. I was scheduled for a fireside chat. The moderator had sent a prep email with sample questions. One stood out. What's one myth people believe about your success? I emailed back, confirmed my attendance, and wrote my answer. Then I called my lawyer. I want to send one more demand letter, 48 hours to retract everything. If they don't, we file for defamation. And I want the exhibit binder attached. She drafted it that night. We sent it certified mail and email. Next, I reached out to the 2 clients who'd paused contracts. I sent them a 1-page timeline, clean, factual, with attachments, LLC filing, bank records, the family texts, and an invitation to call me directly. No drama, just documents. Both called within 6 hours. One reinstated on the spot. The other wanted to wait until after the Forbes event. I believe you, he said, but I want to see how you handle this publicly. Fair. I wasn't going to fight this in private anymore. I wasn't going to let them control the narrative in family group chats and Medium posts. I was going to stand on a stage in Brooklyn in front of 300 people and tell the truth. With receipts. My family had no idea what was coming. The Forbes Under 30 Summit was held in a warehouse venue in Brooklyn. Exposed brick, string lights, 300 founders, investors, and press. I sat on stage next to the moderator. My hands were steady. My notes were in my pocket, but I didn't need them. She asked the warm-up questions first. How I got started. What I'd learned. The crowd was engaged. Then she got to the one I'd prepped for. What's one myth people believe about your journey? I took a breath. That I had help. The room got quiet. I started my company 3 years ago with $8,000 I saved from freelance gigs. I filed the LLC alone. I signed the lease alone. I cold emailed every single client and worked 80-hour weeks to keep them. I paused. This week, people who spent 3 years calling my work embarrassing tried to claim ownership of it. They contacted my clients. They threatened legal action. They told my family I was ungrateful. The moderator's eyes went wide, but she didn't interrupt. I'm sharing this because if you're building something and the people at your dinner table are your biggest doubters, document everything. Save the texts, keep the bank records, trademark your work. Because the day you succeed, some of them will try to rewrite the story, and you'll need proof that you wrote it alone. The room erupted. Standing ovation. I didn't expect that. The moderator thanked me. The panel ended. I walked off stage and checked my phone. Both paused clients had emailed during the panel. Contracts reinstated. One sent a referral. The video clip hit Twitter 10 minutes later. By the time I got back to my hotel, it had 500,000 views. My family group chat was silent. At midnight, my lawyer forwarded me an email. My father's attorney had withdrawn the notice of intent. No apology. No explanation. Just a 1-line withdrawal. I sat on the hotel bed holding my phone. The Forbes list. The viral clip. The contracts back. I'd won, but it didn't feel like I thought it would. The video hit 1 million views in 24 hours. My inbox flooded. Interview requests. Partnership offers. Messages from other founders who dealt with family extraction attempts. Both clients didn't just reinstate. They referred 2 more. By the end of the month, I'd replaced the revenue my father tried to kill. Rachel deleted the Medium post. Unfollowed me on every platform. No apology. Just silence. My father sent one email. Subject line, fine. Body text, you've made your point. That was it. No acknowledgement. No remorse. Just a single sentence that felt more like a threat than a truce. My mother never wrote at all. I set boundaries. Simple ones. No business questions. No financial discussions. Holiday attendance optional and on my terms. I didn't cut them off. I just stopped letting them in. 6 months later, I hired employee number 5. Expanded the studio. Took on a nonprofit client at a discount because I remembered what it felt like to need a break. Then I did something I didn't plan. I started a scholarship fund for first-generation entrepreneurs building something alone, with families who didn't believe, or worse, families who believed too late and wanted a cut. I named it after my first client, the one who took a chance on me when I had nothing but a portfolio and a pitch. My aunt texts me sometimes, surface-level stuff. Hope you're well. I reply politely. I don't revisit the past. I don't need them to apologize. I don't need them to understand. I needed them to stop. And they did. The lesson wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving to myself that my work had worth whether they saw it or not. You don't owe anyone a piece of what you built alone. Not because they raised you. Not because you share DNA. Not because they want the story to be theirs. If you're building something in silence right now, keep going. Keep receipts. Save the emails. Screenshot the dismissals. Your 30 under 30 moment is coming. And when it does, you'll be glad you have proof it was yours. One last thing. This is a fictionalized dramatization based on my experience, not legal or financial advice. If you're facing something similar, talk to a real attorney in your state. Now I want to hear from you. What's the worst thing someone said about your dream before you made it real? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed, do it now. I post every week on boundaries, business, and building something they said you couldn't. They said it was a hobby. The market said it was a business. And I had the receipts to prove it.